are Chaos Warriors of Slaanesh, Slaughterful in Tides of Torment. So I'm using a portmanteau of Slaughter and Wonderful. Appropriate? Let's find out, because with all of the time I've spent with the Kala to date, I noticed myself really questioning their role and want to dig deeper for you and me alike. ROR will get a shoutout too. Let us proceed. Recruited for 800 gold equivalent and 200 upkeep, mirroring the old vanilla unit. On Ultra we get our expected 100 entities and 9,000 health. Armor is 100 with shields blocking a mighty 55% of small arms fire from the front, be they arrows or lead bullets, not cannonballs. I wanted to emphasize that because it's a big part of the unit's strength relative to Marauder units. Physical resistance 5% looks token, but it does help, and you feel it a lot more if it combines with extra resistance added later. Leadership 75 is just fine. Speed 33 and charge speed 43 are figures you'd expect from a nimble light infantryman in armor that usually limits the class to speed 28. So even your slowest, heaviest infantry is less slow in this roster. Melee attack begins at 36, or 4 better than the humble Empire Swordsman, with attack interval 4 seconds being decent in a world where a lot of infantry are 4.2 or 4.3. No splash damage at all. Melee defense 44 is our starting point, where the Empire Swordsman starts at 32 also. The weapon strength starts at 36, split base 26, and armor piercing 10, so we can't call this a great change in ratio. Each entity just plain hits harder than the Swordsman's weapon strength 28. Of course, 20 fewer entities on Ultra here. That means the damage goes out a little bit slower in effect. Charge bonus is 20, which is a little better than General Marauders. Mass is 160 per entity. The Hell Scourges variant comes at 950 gold equivalent and 237 upkeep. Hell Scourges are the key feature that differentiates Slaanesh's offerings from other factions, though it was important to go over the basic unit, because there's nothing wrong with it, and those shields are powerful. Well, Armor 100 and the same 55% missile block are right here too. No holes in your missile targeting. Our differences come into the fore with melee attack 32 or 4 worse, knocking this down to swordsman mediocrity, but each whipping delivers poison along with pain, suppressing enemy speed and damage output by 15%. Unlike Marauder infantry and cavalry, the Kala's Tainted Cup does not give them an exotic version of poison with a small damage over time, therefore these effects will stack if the same target is being attacked. Attack interval is still 4 seconds. Melee defense of 54 is a full 10 better. 54 is up there. It's very high for a starting figure. Weapon strength 32 is split base 26 and armor piercing 6, so the only thing that dropped is 4 from the armor piercing. That's significant, but it's still dishing out quite a bit of damage. It's just less effective against White Lions and Swordmasters. Now, is melee defense 54 effective against them? It's at least delaying the inevitable. While none of the other stats changed, in addition to Strider and immunity to psychology, this unit has expert charge defense and charge reflection, making it a counter unit to charging Swordmasters, at least for a brief period of time, and certainly negating their charge bonus, same as they do to Reiksguard. Yes, there's irony here at having such a unit in the Slaanesh roster, but we must keep track of our Anvil units. So, what about the Mirror Guard, the Regiment of Renown? Derived from the Vanilla unit. We get this for the 1000 gold and 250 upkeep that's standard for most heroes. Leadership 85 is a result of being rank 9. What's highly notable is that melee attack 45 or 9 better does magical attack with every blow, bypassing enemy physical resistance. Curiously, attack interval is 4.3 seconds compared to the original unit's 4. Melee defense of 54 is simply from being rank 9. The passive, Supreme Vanity, affects friendly lords and heroes in a 35-meter bubble, boosting melee defense by 10. This is a Guardian-like effect without being the Guardian ability, and is a lot better when facing anyone with magical attack in melee. It's interesting. It's just to say, this is great for boosting heroes, and is otherwise just a super solid Chaos Warriors unit with magical attack. In the redline skills, as usual, Chaos Vanguard from Immortal Lord gives melee attack plus 8 and armor plus 12 at 3 pips, Legion of Doom brings to rank 7 and up ones armor plus 10, melee defense plus 5, and physical resistance plus 20%. For Demonic Lords and for Redline skills, the Kala counts. Hellish Stride at 3 gives armor plus 8 and speed plus 8%. That would get us to speed 36, by the way. At rank 7 and up, Acolytes of Hedonism would add leadership plus 5, melee defense plus 5, and physical resistance plus 10%, which is why that 5% at the start isn't for nothing. 15% is 3/4 of what Daemonettes get without any boosting at all. In the mainline tech tree, Slaanesh Fighters gives us plus 6 leadership, so as you can see, the leadership gets shored up to elite level super quickly. Decadent Apostles grants armor plus 10 and missile resistance plus 10%, which gives even more resilience against ranged fire, and resistance really does help lower artillery damage, but it's better for surviving mortars than cannonballs to the face. Marvelous Executioners provides badly desired melee attack plus 4 and weapon strength plus 10% is nice too. Blasphemous Promises grants speed plus 10% and melee defense plus 4, and Mortal Obsession just gives minus 10% upkeep and 1 turn faster recruitment in global, which amounts to 1 turn global since these are not 2-turn recruit units default. They're 1 turn local. And that's it. Having said that, it's highly notable Chaos Lords with Unflinching Soldiers will give Chaos Warriors in that army plus 10% physical resistance full time, in addition to the Stir Car boost if he is present. So how do we use Chaos Warriors of Slaanesh? I said that's it, but that's because it's not an issue of the tech tree. Besides her basic stuff, Dakala eventually unlocks a long string of battle buffs that function something like Ostankia Witchcraft. I won't go into detail here, but I'm just saying that beside her increasing mortal troops' weapon strength plus 10% in her army specifically, Sturkar will add plus 10% physical resistance for Chaos Warriors in his army, whether that's combined with her or not, or with a Chaos Lord with Unflinching Soldiers. So we have avenues for spicing things up further still. Magical support and the like will be welcome also. It's important to note once again that there is no path for these Chaos Warriors to get Soporific Musk anymore, and that hurts, but they exist in a roster which now has many sources of debuffs, including the vanilla devotees. The non-crossbows ramp up to where they inflict weakened contact effect. Spawn and War Shrines can unleash Soporific Musk, as can Fiends. Exalted Daemonettes use Charmed. Lords can get Glamour of Slaanesh to reduce melee attack by enemies in an aura. These cannot be used by the Chaos Warriors per se, but their presence can shape the battle around them. So having gone over that, we come back to the basics. Hell Scourges are very interesting if you want your front line to hold and be an anvil for your other units. Hell Scourges are a superb holding unit, flamboyantly blunting enemy attacks. Of course, in practice, you really do want them charging into melee. But if there's a gap in the fighting and enemy cavalry charges into them from the front, the cavalry will effectively bounce off. The weakness is purely in offensive output. But dead entities swing those swords. The best offense is to be there in the thick of things and still standing. No battles are won if you're routing off the battlefield. The advantages the vanilla has over Hell Scourges, beyond cost, is slightly better melee attack and significantly more, as in 66%, armor-piercing damage per blow. This means, if you want your infantry to be cutting down a Kadai destroyer, Hell Scourges are worse for the purpose, but they are better at surviving the onslaught, and it's not close. That said, even the vanilla is far more effective at holding than taking ground, even though it's not half bad at it. So we can say this. If you want to use the warriors to do significant amounts of killing, it's far easier to use them with Chaos Vanguard, which means Mortal Lords. It's fighting an uphill battle to use them as main offense if you're using a Demonic Lord. Now, having said that, the Demonic Lords make it easier to use them as tar pits that make it to the front line faster. Demonic Lords also directly increase Daemonette melee attack with a few pips, so we arrive at a basic fork in the road. With Mortals, shore up the melee attack weakness, have no qualms about using the regulars over Hell Scourges in the center of battle, landing blows consistently sets the tone for your force, and it's still very decent damage on very strong defense units, even against heavy armor-piercing foes, but doubly good against non-heavy AP. With demons, be willing to use Hell Scourges more because you want to tar pit and debuff and hold. You're using anything and everything with Devastating Flanker to make up for this. You just need to form blobs to pick apart, bombard, and so on and so forth. You want Tough as Nails infantry with melee defense in the 60s to do that. not your squishy, hard-hitting Daemonettes. And even though they have high melee defense, relative to some, they don't have this kind of armor, and it does make a difference. Either way, these are not the armor-piercing anti-large droids you are looking for if you're trying to can-opener Reiksguard. This is a roster with a lot of killing units, but Chaos Warriors, despite absolutely being more so than Marauders, are not going to cut it for those roles. And even with Marauders, they're going to get their damage out a little bit slower, so against weak opponents, the Marauders will actually win faster. But in spite of this, they bring a lot of value as the hardcore of a mid-tier army. Incidentally, considering that in pitched melee, these are really defensive units, if you have any chance to charge them in, please do so. Their charge bonus is no joke at all. You'll thank yourself for the extra effort. Having Hell Scourges shut off flanks probably felt wasted in the past, except in some very specific circumstances. Well, Dakala players know she instantly starts with 2 Devotee units with crossbows now, and adding to that with allied units means you really do have a backline the enemy wants dead. I also make a point of using blocker units to shut off my back from enemies during a siege so that I can push forward with less of an issue. They are just really good for delaying tactics. Once you stop viewing it in terms of what can they kill, and start assessing an enemy in terms of what do they have that can actually kill my Chaos Warriors, you begin to see the real lay of the land. Being run over by a mammoth puts them in a bad spot, but short of that, they'll buy time. It's up to you to do something with that time. But by all means, given the chance, they'll rack up the kills just fine. They're just doing their part. Take care, and have fun whipping the enemy into shape.